but we discussed both issues in our phone conversation, so if my help is needed, I am ready to join.
Или в другом случае, давайте я буду подключаться.
At the same time, Turpal Atgeriev, the then Vice Prime Minister of Chechnya, told the Russian media that the border checkpoints in Chechnya had been put on high alert and that no bandits would get through. But the people who had abducted Azariev got through unhindered. How did they tell customs what they had brought from Volgograd? The same goods had been brought into Chechnya from Nabережные Челны, Krasnodar, Nizhny Novgorod, Stavropol, Pyatigorsk, and now Moscow.
When I was brought from Volgograd, the rest hostages burst out laughing. Well, Makhachkala, Ingushetia, and here so many kilometers, so many republics, regions passed through, and nobody stopped. But when later they brought people from Moscow, I went aside. Also, there were two murdered guys. They died in the mountains at very sad circumstances. Bobryshev Dmitry, rescue from the Ministry of Emergency. Andrei Zhuchkov, a retired lieutenant colonel of intelligence service.
Подполковником службы внешней разведки в отставке.
Bobryshev Dmitry, he was also reliable, earnest. At dividing bread was the first one, shared honestly.
Честно все это производил процесс деления, очень был веселый.
A very merry guy he was.
Это, конечно, уникальный.
And what happened to him is just a tragedy.
Он сидел и видеть то, что он видел.
He has been there for 9 months. What he has seen is awful. And to die because of madness.
Из-за того, что из-за глупости. Началось все это.
It started with Zhuchkov, a retired lieutenant colonel.
В отставке.
He was beaten by sticks to death.
До смерти.
They went on beating him within several days, and at last they killed him, of course. And when Dmitry saw how we buried Zhuchkov, improvised, he got a nervous breakdown. He attacked the guard from behind with a knife.
Он напал на охранника с ножом.
He struck him, but came to a rib and failed to kill the man. Pity, though. But on the other side, if the guard had died, we wouldn't have been left alive. 100%. So Dmitry was caught. They cut off his head with a two-hand saw. He told me, if you bring $100,000, you will leave the place alive. Won't bring, won't go anywhere. Will cut you into pieces, send to your home. I could not walk anymore, was walking on my knees. A month later, as they brought nothing, they cut off my finger.
At first, they treated me okay, well. Then, one by one, when the time went on, July 1st they cut me one finger off, and August the 3rd another one.
That soldier who was with me, his name was Sergei. He was from Ukraine. He couldn't speak because the end of his tongue was cut off. I got his name Sergei, but it was not clear. Go on, please. Yes, he had the end of the tongue cut off and no ears. A bit louder, please. Yes, they cut off his ears. He was all beaten, didn't look like man. A live walking corpse. When they shot away his first finger, I was watching it with my own eyes, and the second finger when we were taken down into the basement. There came the second shot, and only after that I found out that they shot away his second finger. Besides, it seemed to them we didn't see enough in the morning. So they brought an ordinary worker from Grozny, who was a little bit sick, Alexander, about 62 years old. Unfortunately, I don't remember his family name. They cut off his head in front of all, in daylight, for us to remember.
There are business considerations. A person in fear is worth more. It is a means of adding value. And then, according to Marx, the higher the value, the higher the output. This was certainly a whole sector of the economy, with its own division of labor. Some, like the person in Moscow who found Kirill, looked for the merchandise. Others transported it, others kept it, and others still speculated on the exchange, buying and selling. And there were dealers, middlemen, agents, men on the street, even accountants. A whole conveyor. End up there, and you stop being a person and turn into a piece of merchandise.
For them, it's not prestigious to plow, to sow. The hardest curses is a shepherd, a herdsman, a man who can steal and can follow the cattle. They despise him. He is worth it. We calculated one day, we cost them, according to actual prices, something about 28 kopecks a day. And I think that they abduct people from each other. So the Chechen steals from the Chechen of the neighbor family. They steal slaves, goods. They place orders in Russia. As far as I knew, there was a talk something like he wanted a girl about 17, 1 meter 72, height, breast size, waist size. In a week he had a girl. She was brought from Novorossiysk. It's all hard to remember now. Wait a little. I shall remember it all. When I recall it, I feel bad like at that time.
Spartak Ashkalov, a math teacher from Galugaevskaya, Stavropol region. With his 9-year-old son, Gera, they became human merchandise in June 1998, just when Chechnya introduced its own school-leaving certificates. Finals were probably underway. Teachers were receiving flowers.
An armed gang came into the house. First, I thought that my students were making fun. But when I saw guns aimed at me, I got that it was serious. I was taken out in pants only. Time was midnight, and started to drag me over the village. I was looking around, thinking somebody could see and tell the militia, but nobody was there. They took me to the Terek River. From behind, I heard them taking out my son. I told them, "It's not serious, I understood, you are the Chechens." I walked there, went to the university. I said, "Take me, but leave the son alone." They said, "Spartak, we know, back off." They talked rudely to me. After that, when we went to another side of the Terek, the other gang was waiting for us. Something about 20 people. "Keep quiet, Spartak. We know what we are doing." I said, "You know, but I ransomed the daughter half a year ago. I have no money, you know." "We know it. Keep quiet. That's all." Well, the boy was in pants. He cried. I calmed him down. That moment, I needed my energy to calm down the boy. We went ahead. I know those places. I lived there. I realized we are in Dolinskaya settlement. Because near that place, there is a village called Raduzhne. I walked there in school.
So we were there, somewhere in the forest. They've taken us over the Terek River and placed us in the car. Then we went somewhere, and they put some guns in the trunk. They tied up my father's eyes and mine too. Then they spoke to my dad, and I went to bed. My daddy was gone, and I stayed. Last year, on March 29, our kids were playing in the street. Before it was cold and windy, and we didn't let them go outside because Denis was a little ill. But the 29th, at 6 o'clock, the weather got well. Some kids went outside. Ours saw that and decided to go out too. So we've let them.
Natalia Busler, a housewife, lives in Solnechnodolsk, a small village in the Stavropol region. Natasha's son was a fifth resident of that village to be abducted.
Later on, as Yana said, when they went home, they said goodbye to everybody and went into our entrance. When they went in, Yana saw that some men went into too. One of them came up to the door on the first floor, and kids thought that it was for the neighbor. So they went on. Yana was first, and Denis went just a step behind her. One man stayed by the door, another one ran after the kids. He hit Yana on the head. She fell. And when she turned around, he and Denis were going down by the stairs. And Yana ran outside. There were still people around. And she cried out that Denis was kidnapped. Then she went to our apartment. It was just seconds. Boris went to the street. Everybody was running around, but nobody was there. That's how he disappeared.
War is war. It embitters you, makes you seek vengeance, and at the end of the day, you can always exchange prisoners. There was neither war nor prisoners to exchange at the time, in the spring of 1999. But how can you avenge little Denis?
What was interesting to me, I had in front of my eyes women's, children's underwear. What the hell, I thought. They are women, children. They all know that they were taking me away, and the son as a hostage, but close their eyes and see nothing.
It was early in the morning, around 5:30. Some man in a uniform broke into our house. We were actually still asleep, me and my baby and my mother. As she was sleeping in another room, she was the first to hear them, and they hit her first. She became unconscious.
Tatiana Mishirakova worked at a kindergarten in Grozny. Her husband was a Chechen. Their daughter, Lena, was 3 when she was abducted.
He put a gun into my mouth, and another 2 men came up. They took the baby, and Lena was still asleep. And they said that I should look for negotiators among